Hi, everyone. Dr. Frankie here, and I'm excited to be back with you all. I'm a day late. My apologies. I was in Mexico at a conference, and I was so exhausted. Things got pretty crazy. But I'm happy that I can be here with you today, and my apologies for being delayed. We had a great time in Mexico. Me and my team from Little Gay Book were there, connecting with so many other matchmakers from across the US, even overseas. And it's exciting to see the industry growing so quickly and people in it for the right reasons, really caring about helping people make authentic connections, helping them date smarter. And it was so invigorating, energizing. I learned new things. People shared a lot of what's been working for them. They have different approaches than we do, and it gets us thinking collaboratively, collectively, and it's inspiring. So thrilled to be back in my office. It's hard to work remote for nearly 2 weeks, but it was well worth it. And I also got to give a talk. The topic was beyond the binary. So most of the matchmakers in the industry are heterosexual. They're working with heterosexual clients, and there's a big difference between matching folks in the queer community and the type of questions that we ask and the way in which people come towards us asking for help and support after they've been rejected by friends, family. There's a level of guardedness, some fear of rejection, fear of being misunderstood. So I was able to speak to this large audience about how to be inclusive and how to convey care and understanding and how to incorporate the language and not have so much fear around misstepping and using the wrong terminology and knowing that really what matters is that you care and you make an effort. For example, like acknowledging that somebody may go by a different pronoun and just asking them what pronoun they prefer to use, things like that. So I think it was really helpful in just helping them feel more informed, more confident, and encouraging them to kind of lean into being more inclusive and practicing and knowing that it's really just about people wanting to feel seen and accepted. And yeah, I feel like I really had a positive impact, and that makes me happy. So, anyway, for those of you that have subscribed to my channel, thank you, thank you, thank you. I have over 20,000 subscribers right now. After Howard Stern a couple weeks ago, I think we got so much more exposure. So I'm thrilled to have you all here with me. And for those of you that are new to me, I'm a clinical psychologist, board certified sex therapist, been practicing for over 2 decades, and I just love doing what I do. I love being here with you all every week and touching on topics that need to be discussed, even if it causes people to have a negative reaction. I talk about all things, not just sex. So all things about relating, interpersonal relationships, so that we can have healthier, um, just happier, more attached, healthier connections with people, right? And it's an ongoing process. Like I've been practicing for years, I've been in therapy for years, and I still work on my ability to connect with people, to be vulnerable, to trust. We're living in a tough world today, so it's something that we should all be actively working on. So thrilled to be here, and thanks for tuning in every week to support me and to learn more and grow all that good stuff. So today I'm going to be talking about 12 things to ask a new sex partner. So important. Communication is important because I talk about it all the time, right? Even for casual partners, it's important. And you want to be on the same page with someone before you start a new relationship, even if it's just a sexual relationship. Whether it's casual or it could be actually something more serious. You may go into it thinking, well, this is something casual, but you never know. It could develop into something more serious. So, how do you have these kind of tough conversations with somebody who you don't know that well? Do you need to interrogate them like it's a job interview? The answer is no to that. The dialogue you have with a new sex partner doesn't need to be stilted or really formal. You can have a quick check in, like in the car on the way to your place, or while you're making out, or even while having sex. And I'm going to share with you today how to ask a few important questions to a new date for success that kind of makes it more painless in the future to have these conversations. You sort of set the tone, the found you're working on setting a foundation. So these are questions to ask a partner about sex or hooking up just in general. Is there anything you definitely want to do or want to try? Maybe anything's on the table and you and your partner both want to see where things go. Or maybe oral sex is your new partner's favorite thing and is a non-negotiable to them as foreplay, or even the main draw of having sex. So asking, is there anything you definitely don't want to try or that you definitely do want to try is an important question. And many of us have things we know we aren't interested in at all, either because we find them triggering or unpleasant, or just because they don't do anything for us. It's entirely possible something you think of as routine and objectively enjoyable is something your partner doesn't want to do at all. So it really is important to just ask. Are there any medical conditions or physical accommodations that, need to be considered and discussed before actually engaging intimately? It can be difficult and really vulnerable to bring up medical or disability related needs. And many disabilities or medical conditions may actually be invisible, not something necessarily legible from having a drink with someone on a first date. Someone might easily live with pelvic floor issues, vaginismus, chronic pain, or another visible disability or invisible disability. And knowing how to accommodate it during sex is so invaluable. So if someone does have a visible disability, like using a wheelchair, they will likely appreciate you being direct and upfront in asking how you can accommodate them. But again, there are many invisible disabilities where you just kind of exploring and kind of checking in and bringing it up makes it way more comfortable for somebody to jump in and share about their experience and about their needs. Are there any body parts you don't want me to touch? From past sexual trauma to just being really ticklish, there might be places you could run your hands across that will totally ruin the vibe of your evening, which we definitely don't want, right? So some people, like stone tops, may not want to be touched at all. Set yourself up for success on your first date by knowing ahead of time. Is there any language you don't or you do want me to use for your body? Both cis and trans people often have strong feelings about the words used to describe their bodies. Some people exclusively call their genitalia their pussy, while others find the word incredibly rude. And of course, some people couldn't care less about verbiage one way or the other. It can be tough to get back into the flow of things after pausing to stumble over the right terminology in the moment, especially if you get it wrong. Can you show me how you like someone to touch you? No matter how experienced you are, it's impossible to read minds. Everybody's body's different, and the first time having sex with a new partner necessarily involves a little trial and error as you both figure out what the other person likes and dislikes. You can skip right past a lot of the trial and error if you can be vulnerable enough to ask for a demonstration directly. Have your partner show you how they masturbate or move your hand in the way they like best. Questions to ask your partner about kink and power dynamics. Do you want a top, bottom, or switch? If particular queer sexual dynamics are important to you, it's possible you've already scoped out your new partner with exactly this in mind. Not always, though. It's not unheard of for two people to really hit it off over a couple drinks during a date before finally discovering they're both bottoms. It's never a bad idea to just ask. This also helps you avoid falling back on overly broad stereotypes. It's entirely possible you finally get that hot, buff butch in their leather jacket home only to find out that they're a strict bottom. Having an upfront conversation is the best way to avoid making assumptions. And remember, do not make assumptions. You never know. We all have different preferences, so don't assume. What kind of kink activities are you most interested in? Some people are crazy about impact, but hate the idea of being tied up. Some people want to be suspended in rope, but not experience any pain. Some people want basically entirely vanilla sex, but only within a role played power dynamic. If you're going to get into anything in the neighborhood of BDSM, it's important to have a really concrete and specific conversation about what you want to do and what you don't want to do. What about those activities feels good to you? While it's definitely possible to have a satisfying encounter with someone just based on the knowledge of your shared sexual interests, sex is often way better if you both understand a little more about why you like what you like, especially when it comes to kink. Someone who likes impact play because they get off on the idea of discipline and punishment is having a totally different experience than a masochist who likes impact because of the physical sensations of pain. It's really helpful, again, to know the difference. Is there anything you definitely don't want to do? Whether you're talking about kink or vanilla sex, it's always helpful to establish everyone's hard limits, including the top's limits and boundaries. Being a top doesn't mean you have to be down for everything. Are you also interested in sex as part of BDSM play, or are those separate for you? For many people, kink is part of, or foreplay too, more conventional sex involving penetration and or orgasms. For others, they're completely separate. They want to spank someone or be tied up and then go home, maybe even with all their clothes on. Obviously, determining what kind of experience both of you are signed up for is super critical before you even get started. What does aftercare look like for you? It's not uncommon to experience BDSM scenes as intense and an emotional and psychological basis. Many people benefit from extra gentle attention and aftercare after a scene is over, including tops. It's helpful to know a little about what that looks like for your partner so you can be prepared and maybe have some prepared drinks or snacks on hand, right? We want this to be a really supportive environment, experience, and we have to recognize that we have different preferences. And just because we like something specific, we're certain that we appreciate it doesn't mean that somebody else does. So communicate, communicate, communicate. And that's what I got for y'all today. So I will see you next week. Kisses, hugs. Take care.